Call the Property Management Committee to order. First order of business, approval of minutes. Motion on that?
So moved.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Motion second. Any discussion on the minutes? If not, all those in favor of approval, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. First thing on the agenda tonight, Sheriff Office, Narcotic Division, Property Needs. Mr. Mayor, Sheriff.
I don't know if we actually talked to this committee before or not. Did we tell public safety?
No, we haven't. This is the first
go around.
I think you brought it up.
I think I brought it.
I think, yeah, we checked it.
Mentioned it.
Yeah, you mentioned it.
You mentioned, I think you were looking, or the need, and you were looking for
Right.
property.
Right.
Okay. With this has been going on, we've been having this discussion for a few months now. So, and I visited the property they do currently have that they're leasing, and they don't have enough space in the building, or there's not enough land there to add any additional square footage to the building if we needed to. All right, all that being said, we've been talking about this since at least September. I have with the sheriff and his narcotics division people, and we agree completely that they need some more space, and we're going to have to find, first of all, a piece of property to put it on. And that's not easy to do nowadays when you start looking for a piece of property. So we need 3 or 4 or 5 acres, we think, to do this, where they can build about 7,000 square feet for office space, have another 6,000 feet for warehouse space. All this is preliminary. A place to park impounded vehicles, etc. And with some reasonable proximity of where they can be a bit self-contained with enough privacy where everybody doesn't see what they're doing and when they're coming and going on their mission. We found 1 or 2 or 3 pieces of property that might work. I don't think that I'm authorized to actually start in negotiations or even bring forward a piece of property to you without your basic blessing and consent, just for us to actually seriously start some negotiations and see if we can bring something back that is practical. And we can't commit to anything. Anything that we discuss and negotiate would be subject to commission approval, and certainly subject to all the other things as far as environmental and all those things that would have to happen if we actually lock in a piece of property that we think we can obtain. So we're just simply here to say, give us permission to go out there. We have some real estate people that have sent us some different proposals, but we've not been able to actually act on them or even starting this serious discussion, just look at them and review them. We just simply want permission to start some discussions and maybe narrow down our locations to 1 or 2, and we can't even tell you where the locations are because we don't want to disclose and inhibit our ability to have some serious negotiation capability. So on this particular piece of property, we'd like for you to authorize us to at least start this discussion with 1 or more realty agencies about obtaining a piece of property. And you can set a maximum dollar number. I think in this case, this could cost as much as $400,000 for a piece of property in this range of 3 to 5 acres, and we'll go from there. Now, the sheriff, they do receive revenues from time to time. They're not promising that they can pay for this, all of this. They simply said they will potentially try to help with paying for part of this out of these funds that they do receive.
Out of the narcotic.
Out of the narcotic seizures, etc. So once we come forward with a piece of property and we have the dollar amount locked in, maybe at that time the sheriff and them can determine how much of that they can fund out of their narcotics funds that are available, and then you can make a hard decision on, do we buy it? And you can make that recommendation. We'll send it all the way through the full commission. So, Mr. Sheriff, you want to tell them anything else?
I think you've pretty much said everything.
Okay, that's where we are. We're together on this, and we'd like to make this happen. It's at some point we must. I mean, as
It'll grow.
as their needs increase with the misbehavior of people, we have to provide resources to help them. And it's painfully difficult and slow because we just can't write a check every time we want to write one. But this is a bit overdue.
Is there, the property that you're currently at, is there the ability to turn that property after we find new property?
We don't own
We don't.
it.
We
We
rent it.
simply,
Okay,
We've been
we don't
renting
own
that
it. We
piece
don't-
of property
okay.
for years. How many years approximately?
Sorry,
How many years approximately?
if we've been looking?
No, renting.
So we don't own the property?
No, no.
7
Okay.
to 8.
We've been renting it for 7 to 8 years.
Okay. Are we under some kind of a continual contract that we have to pay?
We have a yearly contract, and they have a new owner. We're not sure if they're going to go up.
Yeah,
On there, we've rented all the space we can, and we've just outgrown it.
yeah, okay. So we could walk away at any day,
Yeah, pretty much.
basically.
well, we could walk away within a time frame. Certainly that's going to
That they-
take us to
mutual
build a
agreement.
building.
Oh, yeah.
It would be,
We're up to good on our lease right now until July, and we'll make another 6 months lease
Okay.
in July. We'll pay 6 months.
You're doing it in 6 months.
Yes.
And do you really need us to give you a dollar cap, or just
you
go out
really-
and
you
look
don't
at
really
property?
need to,
that
but
you-
I'll just tell you that's about where
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm landing, and I don't think I'm
Yeah.
going to go any higher than that, but you don't have to give us a dollar cap, and that would give us more flexibility,
Right,
okay?
okay.
But that sort of give you an idea where we think we're going to,
so you're gonna see if you find something you like, then negotiate, try and negotiate a
And I-
deal.
and I may
And
have-
then, before there's any obligation, you come back to this commission and full commission, and we vote on it, correct? Is that correct?
absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. We can't, that's all we can do. We can't do anything without commission
Okay.
approval.
And, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Look, I'll finish, Paul.
Okay.
Back on the sheriff's discussion a minute ago about perhaps they participate financially. At what point in time would we try and pin their office down to, could you pay 30%, 50%?
We'd like to pin it down when we come back with a firm proposal.
Okay.
We'd like for him to make a firm,
Okay.
tentative commitment at least.
Yeah.
And we've been talking about this for a while. We know what we've got and
Right.
what we need,
Okay.
operating costs on it. So we've been
Okay.
working pretty.
All right. I'm sorry, Paul?
Did you say that you already had 2 or 3?
We've got
Potential
we've got a
sites.
couple of sites that we are pretty serious that we will have some discussions about soon.
That would fit their needs?
Yeah, that will meet these needs, yes. And they basically agree with us that we think it might be acceptable.
Well, based on growth, I myself like the 5-acre range.
Well, 3 to 5
I
is what,
would
3 to
want
5
to
is
cut
what
it,
we're looking.
you know, we go out and buy the piece of property, bare minimum, then 3 years down the road, we'll be back.
That's
trying to buy
possible.
it. You know, if we can go out there and get enough and look at the long-range plan of growth, you know, try to get ahead of it,
Yes.
we might be better off.
I definitely think we need to look at the long-range plan of growth, but
Is this raw land you're looking at, or does it have utilities, water, sewer?
Well, it will have all of the above as we need. We don't.
Okay.
But the one good thing too, if we buy, if it's county-owned property, one way or the other, if we need to add office space within a building or modify the building, we can do it. Currently, we are not allowed to do anything that would modify a building from planting a flower in the front yard per se, because that would add value to someone else's property. So, correct, that's one reason why we've outgrown where we're at, because we can't modify anything.
Any more questions? Do we need a motion to that effect?
Yeah, we want one. I mean, we.
Well,
I'll make the motion.
okay, we got a motion, we have a second.
Second.
Got a second. Any more discussion?
What's the motion?
To give the
them
mayor
Begin
the
discussion.
leeway
Any contractual
exploratory
agreements.
to process this and
Give us
bring back
permission
leads.
to enter into some negotiations with respect to obtaining some property and bring back
To this
a
body,
proposal
this
at
committee.
the time we are able to conclude those negotiations. That we think is reasonable.
This is just the baby steps right now.
Yeah,
Thank you,
preliminary. Any more discussion? Let's go with a roll call on this.
Commissioner Bond,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Kaplan,
Yes.
Commissioner Cush,
Yes.
Commissioner Montague.
Yes.
Also, I'd like to let you know on March 7th, between 12 and 2, we will be having the grand reopening of the booking area of the Rutherford County Sheriff's Office. And it's a time that you can actually come in and walk back out and not have to pay a bond or anything like that. You can come and see the facility without getting fingerprinted. So we've been working on the remodel of the booking area since about the 28th of December. It will be reopening that evening, so we figured we'll give time to the public if they'd like to come in and see what we've done remodeling wise within the booking area.
From what time?
From 12 to 2 on the March 7th. I know public safety, some of those guys have expressed interest in coming out, so I ask for y'all to come out as well. We're going to do a ribbon cutting and all that. So
March what?
March 7th from 12.
Saturday, March the
Yeah,
7th.
Saturday, March 7th.
So the photos will be better now on that?
Yes,
So we can see
the
people's
the
faces.
app will get a whole lot better because the pictures have not been good since they've been up in 2B pod doing booking since about December 28th. So and we've had, you wouldn't believe how many people have called me and just different people in the sheriff's office asking about the booking photos and why they're so dark. Oh, come to find out, our app is the most popular app in the country.
Really?
Yes, more people look at our app than any other out there. Well, it's just our citizens within the county are looking at it more than any other than other citizens in their counties. So Appriss told us that when they came and they redid some things on our app, but they told us that we were the most popular app out there. So for this, so please come out. Thank you very much.
Okay. Next on the agenda, vehicle maintenance and solid waste property needs.
Okay, who we got in here?
Mr. No.
Director in the back there, I guess he's coming up with a layout for us. I hope.
We got the finance.
Yeah, we got finance.
What is
You
that?
about, come on.
No, I don't think we did.
That's the map of the landfill showing.
Okay, this discussion is the same type of discussion we just had, okay? How many of you folks have been down to our vehicle maintenance department? Mr. Johnson probably has.
I have, but it's been a long time.
Any of the rest of you have been down there? Mr. Gooch, you've been down there? Our vehicle maintenance department is in the basement area of the,
Aubrey.
at the old Armory building. And
They can actually get 4 ambulances in there at the same time, but I'd hate to be the one to have to drive them in there. That's how tight it is. They have lifts for them, but the height of the ambulance, they can't raise it up high. The ambulance is too tall to raise it up high enough to walk under it.
anyway, let's just say this, we are many years behind having any reasonable ability to work on our vehicles. Anything big, nothing bigger than an ambulance can even get in, and it barely can get in there.
Our garbage trucks, when we worked on them, was outside.
We are, yeah, there's no other place. We need a place to work on our solid waste vehicles.
I thought you worked on them at the landfill.
We have one
We
place.
have
I
occasionally.
know you haven't,
Mhm.
but I didn't know it had been changed.
No, we work on them, they're out there in the gravel most of the time,
Behind the
behind the armory.
is where the headquarters of the vehicles for the solid waste department is. In a little portable building is their offices there. We really 10, 15 years ago, really should have had something where we can bring our vehicles for our solid waste, our fire department vehicles, our EMS, of course, all of that. We've got some good mechanics, and even solid waste now has a person that's certified to work on these pumps, on these fire engines, et cetera. So we do have a bit of space on West College there that we can put one vehicle inside the building there to work on it from time to time. We need 10 to 20 acres, more nearly 20 acres. I mean, this is, I'll say long-term, but it's way overdue, so it's something we gotta start, we gotta do it at some point. We need office space for solid waste, we need a place for these vehicles, maintenance for county general, which includes the emergency management services, PAWS, animal control, all of our county general vehicles, fire rescue. We need a fueling station. We had to move, the fueling station was behind the armory, adjacent to the river, with old equipment and potential hazardous waste there, so we shut that place down 2 or 3 years ago.
There was 2 1,000-gallon fuel tanks, one for gas and one for diesel. My garbage trucks burn 1,000 gallons a day when they're all done.
So we do now have a contract with a local fuel supplier, and we've got 2 or 3 or 4 locations scattered across the county that we can go use their fuel dispensing, which has helped us a whole lot. But anyway, we really, when we do this, we need to put our own fueling station in there. It would be much more efficient and effective. We need space potentially, if this location we can obtain is properly located for a convenience center, expansion for that need. There's lots of things happening. Recycling, where we're located on Haley Lane really is not the most appropriate location. It has lots of constraints as far as where it's located, the size of the property, and utility lines not appropriate, and the TVA line running right over the middle of it, the top of it. All of that to say we need to relocate it. We've had a lot of discussion before some of you have been elected this go round about these same discussions, and we didn't opt to pursue one that was one opportunity, and I think maybe it might have been wise in that it's not exactly in the location that we think is more appropriate. We've been working on this just like the other one. Actually, this is more than just since last September. I've really been working on this since I've been here, and we haven't been able to find a place or find a time that we thought we could actually make this happen. I'm almost begging for permission to bring back to you hopefully a piece of property of some sort that we think would be in the right location with the right utilities and everything available, and with enough land to give us some flexibility to grow as we move forward, and we're going to need that desperately in these particular areas. So it's the same request. The money's going to be a lot bigger. If we get as much as 20 acres, it could be $1.5 million. Quite honestly, it's just, and again, the choices out there are limited. I mean, it's not that we've just turned down good pieces of property after another. There's not even a handful out there that would be in this price range that we can find. And it may not be a handful, it's probably 2 or 3, quite honestly. So we've sort of got only a couple of options right now that we think might be potential that we want to seriously pursue, and see if you guys will consent to let us do that. And then again, we don't have the money in his budget or in his fund balance to do this. We're going to we'll just tell you up front, we're probably going to have to borrow the money to make this happen. So you're going to have to put this into the whole scheme of all of the needs, but we can't just put off some of these pretty critical needs forever. So I don't know what Mr. Nolan else wants to say about this. Mr. Nunley knows about this. We've talked to him about it, and he's with us, but he's not with us tonight about here. But
Where are you thinking? Do you want it centrally located in the county, or do you want to go out?
It needs to be more centrally located in the county, but it also needs to have access to city sewer. Because with this facility, you'd wind up with a big wash bay to wash all the equipment and all that kind of stuff. And to get a piece of property to use septic tank, you'd have a whole lot of property just for septic tank system.
And it needs to be centrally located. We don't want to put it on the farthest end of the county, one side or the other. We want to put it somewhere because we have to serve the whole county with solid waste and with our equipment and other vehicles coming in there.
And if you do the fueling, then you want it relatively centrally located to where
Got other
everybody can get
pla-
the
you
ease
want-
in there.
Do we want to take all the fuel and put it in one place, or leave it spread out like we got it now?
Well, we've only got 2 or 3 places, and it's not, not really
Not adequate.
strategically located even right now. But it would be in one place. And it needs to be clearly accessible to the right roads where we can navigate and don't have to go around the world to get back to the landfill, et cetera, okay?
Have you got 2 or 3 locations that got the
We got-
criteria?
we Right now, we have
started
two.
out with 9, and we kept narrowing down why this one won't work, that one won't work, and we're at 2 or 3.
You narrowed it down
We're
to
down
meet the criteria.
We have no more than 3 right now that we think is viable. And if we miss on if we don't get one of these, we don't know where the next opportunity is yet, okay? Maybe one just pops up that we hadn't even thought about, but we don't. Not like we've been fooling with this just a few weeks. This has been going on forever. But we think we must, at some point, make our best effort to make something happen. Again, if we do this and the big picture doesn't allow this to be properly funded, we'll just have to say no. I mean, you will. You guys will have to make that decision.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. Do you anticipate putting this in the budget for next year if everything falls in place?
Right now, his preliminary budget has that in there, yes.
The purchase of property only, no building. or
purchase
anything.
property.
Just purchase of property right now. So it will go through the budgeting process, but we can start this, but we won't get through the budgeting process until thereabouts June 30th. So, but if we know this is coming, we can start this process and know if the land is going to stay in his budget or not before we get there.
So you need a motion.
I need the same motion basically we had a while ago.
I make a motion that that the mayor and Mr. Nolan look for property for the vehicle maintenance and solid waste property for that.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any more discussion?
On the fueling station, is that will be tanks in the ground,
They'll be above ground.
above the ground?
What I'm envisioning would be 2 12,000-gallon tanks, one for gas, one for diesel. That way, you still have quite a bit of capacity in the tank, and you can still order a whole tractor-trailer load of fuel. You get you better bang for your buck when you buy a whole load. And they're, depending on what you're buying, they're anywhere from 7 to 800 gallons to a load.
Do we bid, as a county, do we bid fuel out on an annual contract?
Well,
We don't do it ourselves.
No, we don't do it. But what we have now is, we have this agreement with this local D&D, and they buy it off of, what do they call this? Off their wholesale,
We pay so many cents per gallon above the
above
rack
the
rate.
wholesale rate that everybody has the same wholesale rates, but we buy it at so many cents above that.
Okay.
Any more discussion? If not, call the roll.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Cook?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Kaplan?
Yes.
Commissioner Cush?
Yes.
Commissioner McAdoo?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Spend some more money here now.
Next, Burton Street ambulance station replacement.
I don't know if Mr. Davidson wants to come up here on this or not. You can come on up, but anyway, this happened before some of you were here, but we have a lease agreement with St. Thomas Rutherford Hospital. The parent name of that is Seton, S-E-T-O-N. In other words, we have a lease where we're sitting with our Burton Street ambulance station, and directly behind it is the old Pace building that we are just about almost finished, and that's what this EMS administration building report is. We're almost finished with renovating that Pace building to make that our administrative offices. When we executed this lease, this is a long-term lease with the hospital, one of the requirements in there is that we were and are to build a replacement ambulance station. In other words, they want that to always be a central site location for an ambulance station. We're in a converted house, with sort of a double garage. And you really have to be an excellent driver to get those two ambulances backed in there. But so, the sort of the thought was that station is not really appropriate and hadn't been. But so we're under a lease agreement that says, we told them, we agreed when we executed this agreement before some of you were commissioners, that we would, within 2 years of executing that lease, we would build a building, a replacement station. Now, 2 years will be up in December this year. We won't have the station completed, all right? So Mr. Nunley has put in his budget that's coming forward for you to review this year. He's put $716,600 for a new ambulance station replacement there. And whether we pay that out of his budget or not is yet to be determined. I mean, he does have some fund balance, but it's getting limited in its ability maybe to fund that many dollars. So, so I don't know exactly what we need to say, except this is going to work through the budgeting process, and he's going to go to public safety. I think property management needs to know about that being in his budget request, and I don't know what we're asking you to actually do, but you can do it now, or you can do it concurrent with it coming through the public safety budget request. But we've had an architect sort of draw preliminary plans, and for what Mr. Nunley and his team think is appropriate, and they've come up with like $660,000. And Mr. Nunley has said it's going to take some extra money for furnishings, fixtures, blah blah blah. So there's some more, things that we don't even know quite what would be. And so I just rounded that up to 700. It may be as much as 750,000 before we get through with it. But it will be an expanded ambulance station in that you can put 4 vehicles in there, 2 bays, but 2 vehicles could be in each bay, and you could come out either end of the thing. So you don't have to decide tonight, but at least sometime in the next, because he'll go before public safety next go round, they won't actually approve it, then it'll go to budget. So I guess we made a commitment to do this already. I'm just guessing maybe informing you is about what it's going to cost to make it happen. In other words, so.
Question.
Yes, ma'am.
When Stonecrest come in, we had to build it, ambulance station, according to what Stonecrest wanted us to build it. Did Stonecrest put any money in it?
I don't know. That was before I was
That was
here.
before you.
I don't know when this Mr. Gooch
And,
Mr. Johnson knows. I don't know.
I don't recall.
I don't recall them putting in money.
I know that Stonecrest asked us to do it a certain way, build it a certain way.
Yeah. I don't have
And I
any
was just
idea.
wondering, if they put any money in, could we get them, St. Thomas, to put some money in?
No, they're not going to do that. They
Okay.
gave us the property. They gave us the use of that land over there for, was a 99-year lease. I believe.
50-year lease.
Okay.
Is it 59 or 99?
50-year lease at $1 a year.
So that they gave us the Pace building to use, you might say, and we've renovated that now to use for our administrative offices. So we've saved the money there, and I'm sure they'll extend the lease. I don't think there's any reason to think they wouldn't, even 50 years from now.
Remind me, how much money have we allocated towards this project so far?
What we put into the Pace building is going to be about $350,000 plus about another $40,000 just for some technology and all of that.
The money we've allocated so far has been for the Pace building.
Yes, sir, $350,000.
Well, that's what I remember.
This pending.
Right.
Contracts to date, 345, 962, according to this.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, to me, it's just information only because we did agree to this a couple of years ago. So therefore, we can discuss it all we want to, but it's something we got to do.
We've got to do it.
The design of this one would have to be different from the generic ones that they basically build out here.
It's a little different.
Because of the needs.
It has, all of the ones we currently have just have 2 ambulances, all you can put in this, but you could put 4 in here.
The Burton Street station is the most busy station in the ambulance
With the
department.
needs for this, it's a lot more different than the one down on Highway 41.
Oh, yes.
You know, the
So
requirement.
the $750,000 figure, is that a total or is that an additional amount? I guess it's an additional amount.
It's an addition.
Because it's in his budget.
It's not, that
In addition,
350.
and in addition to this.
In addition to
it's gonna
that,
be in
yes,
the
sir.
budget. Okay.
Yeah, we've got a building, when we finish with this Pace building, it may be worth $500,000 or whatever, you know. And the land on top of that would be a lot more. This is just for the building, the new station replacement.
In the set, but the 750 was in his budget, or it's not in the budget?
He's got it in his budget. I'm not sure whether he can fund it out of his, I'm doubtful that he has enough reserves to fund it completely within the ambulance fund. It's a separate fund from the general fund. So we may, without at least borrowing it or using some of our development tax money, we don't know yet exactly what would be the proper way to fund that.
And when you say it's in his budget, you mean he's putting it
He's
in his
putting it in his
budget for
budget.
the
It's a
next...
line item that he's requesting.
It's not in there right now, it's in there for the next
For
cycle.
next year.
And the contract's 2 years old right now?
It's 1 year old, just over.
December of
This year.
2012 is when we signed the lease agreement.
Okay.
So this coming December, technically, if you stayed in full compliance with the lease agreement, it would be open and money. It won't happen that, it'll be later than that.
I guess my mindset is if it was established in 2012, that's when the wheels would have started turning in my head of preparation for the budget and the planning. Maybe I'm not thinking about that the right way, but if I knew that was going to be coming in 2 years, there should have been a plan put in place when we signed it and said this is going to be what's going to come in 2 years. So it sounds like it's a little bit more of a surprise now.
It's not a surprise.
That's a good point, though.
We thought we would take the one bite at a time and do the administrative,
Pace building.
because we were thinking where we're sitting now had to be torn down
Yeah.
and put this there. It may not have to be torn down, but it might be the best thing to do. But so we just took the one bite to do the renovation first and not do it. We have to stretch things out sometimes past what we know would have been better served otherwise.
But in the computer world today, with all the wiring and so forth, it almost have to demolish some of these buildings now. Some of the old buildings I'm talking about.
So
Question. Go ahead.
you and I are on the same time schedule
Go
today.
ahead.
Has the hospital given like a set of specifications that we want this ambulance building to look like this?
They have the right to review and,
Okay.
and evaluate it and give us feedback, but they do not have a set of specs.
So they don't, if it's 4 bay, 2 bay, 6 bay,
They don't care.
they just,
They may care, but no, they have not specified any of that, and it's a very simple statement. It does say they have the ability to review what we propose to build. And
But they don't have the option to reject or anything else. I mean, they can't demand that it be done, sir.
well, that's where I'm fishing.
it's not that strong, no.
Okay.
Okay. Question I have, may be inappropriate, but Christie Houston Foundation, do they ever get involved in anything like this?
Yep, yes, they do.
Yeah, that's a good avenue. I know Community Care has approached.
They have been, let's say, reasonably generous with us over the last 3 or 4 years or so, and they sort of ask us to sort of step back and take a little respite for a little bit. So I don't quite think our respite time is. They didn't say how long, but I'm really not. I don't want to over.
You don't want to wear out your welcome?
Yeah, that's right. They haven't turned us down, and they've been very generous. So we haven't chosen to go back to them now for a year or so.
It's just food for thought, you know.
We'll still think about it.
Okay. Any more questions, any more discussion on
But
Station.
she can simply put in the minutes that we've had this discussion and
Yeah.
we've explained where we are.
And we are receptive to it.
I guess we are.
I mean, it's got to be addressed somewhere along the way.
It's got to be done.
Yeah.
You know,
I think, yeah.
it's not going to go away.
But, okay, next on the agenda, new judicial building report.
Well, what, before he leaves, if you don't mind, Mr. Chairman, just skip on down to number 5, and
Okay, EMS
we've sort of talked a little bit about
Yeah,
the
pace.
administration, but I was just going to give them an update. You can tell them where we are and when we're going to move in.
They're working out the final punch list on the building right now. That shouldn't take too much longer. And then we're going to need to put a trench and line to our current servers that are located in the current ambulance station in order to get the new ambulance headquarters up and running with all of our information technology requirements. So I'm not exactly sure how long that's going to take, but I'd estimate about a month from now we might be looking at starting to occupy that building.
Is it on schedule, or are they running?
They've been ahead of
It's
schedule.
ahead of schedule. They had until May. So except for this last little trench we got to run across there, they could move in today if it wasn't for bringing the rest of this communication lines across there. So that's coming along nicely, and it's about finished.
Thank you.
Thank you.
New judicial building report.
Okay, I'm just here to sort of answer any questions. Most of you hear about this routinely, but all the players are in place. Now, they have not executed the agreement with the construction manager, but they have selected the construction manager, Bell Constructions, and I guess the PBA, they'll have their contractual agreement for that entity next. I think the next meeting is March the 4th.
The
or
last
March the
meeting
7th.
was canceled due to weather.
So so all the players are in place, and it's actually, I mean, I don't know, Mr. McAdoo's been there. We've really got a super professional team in place here at every level. We got Grisham and Smith architects, Bell constructors. We've got Pinnacle Partners, you might say, is the project manager, and it's a small firm, but the primary principal in that firm has spent many years with the state of Tennessee overseeing major construction projects for them. So we've just got some very experienced professional people on board here to help us do this, and I'm just really encouraged about all the participants. So you can ask anything. I mean, I don't have anything else to tell you, except I will tell you that the commission approved $5 million to buy the land for where the D&J building is, and pay all of these architectural engineering fees and all the upfront stuff. That doesn't include the actual construction, but I mean, we're within budget. We haven't even spent all of that money, and to pay all of these, there's seems like a whole lot of players here, and they're all going to get paid, and some of them are not so cheap. But we do have enough money in what you've already appropriated to make all of this happen and get it to the point where we actually have a hard number and then go forward with the actual construction. And you'll have a hard number on that sometime this fall. I guarantee, max not to exceed. Okay, that's my report, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Any other business? We got,
Need to approve that
Oh,
report
yeah.
from Lisa.
Motion to approve
Capital.
this report.
Okay.
Second.
Did everybody get to see it? We have one copy, we were passing it around, so. Any discussion on the report? All those in favor? Aye. Okay, any other business, Commissioner Stevens would like to talk to this committee, come with a request from this committee? Go
All
ahead.
right, well, on Tuesday, and I'm sorry it's getting on the agenda, but on Tuesday, the Records Commission had our quarterly meeting. And for those of you who aren't familiar with the Records Commission, we're charged with maintaining the permanent records of the county and disposing of the records that we don't have to keep anymore. And the committee has to recommend destroying things that we don't have to keep. But at the meeting, someone made a motion to place the chairman of the Records Commission on the Judicial Building Design Committee. And the thinking was there that in this judicial facility, we have thousands of records that we have to keep forever. and other ones we have to keep for 10 years and certain lengths of time. So we felt like it was important that as we're designing this new judicial facility, that we have somebody on the design committee that's looking out for the interest of all of our records that we have to keep. And so it really made a lot of sense after I thought about it. And then also yesterday I spoke with the district attorney, Jennings Jones, and he would like to be on the design committee. I know personally from experience working over here in the current judicial facility, when the criminal cases are being dealt with in general sessions, all the defendants will go to a small room and they will kind of wait in line or wait in bulk for a district attorney to meet with them or their attorney to try to settle their case. And it's really important when we build this new facility to have enough space for them to do that and to have places for the attorneys to meet and try to work these things out. Because right now it's just really helter-skelter over there. And so I think that those are both reasonable requests, and I was going to ask that someone from the Records Commission, our chairman, John Lodel, who's a county archivist, be placed on the Judicial Design Committee, and then also with the district attorney be placed on that design committee as well so they can give their input.
Okay, anybody got any questions to the commission?
We have a hope and desire that the majority of our records within this new $65 million building are going to be electronic, correct?
Well, I hope that's the direction that they move with it. We still got to keep the...
So how much paper would we actually, are we going to have still? We still have a lot of paper?
There's still going to be a lot of paper coming in.
It must be less and less for all of us in every department, every office as we go forward.
I personally don't see any issue with the recommendation. I think it makes sense for Mr. Jones and for the records person to be there to provide their input. I would like to make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion second to approve the two applicants to the committee, and I'm just going to make one statement. We'll probably be adding more in the future, no doubt, because even the mayor and myself discussion earlier, Brian Robertson may be one that we may be looking at in the future. Isn't that right, Mr. Mayor?
Let me just make a general statement. These design review committee meetings are public meetings, and everyone that wishes to come and be in the room, you hardly can tell who's on the committee and who's not on the committee from the input we've been getting from people that are sitting, say, in that place back there, which would be the audience. So everyone is welcome to participate, and just because you want to be officially designated doesn't mean you have necessarily more input than others. I haven't chosen to put our OIT director on there, even though he's going to have much input into this whole discussion. We're going to make sure that happens. So it's sort of doesn't really matter or not to me whether they're on there or not on there. They're going to get whatever say they need to have. They're going to be heard.
I think publicly though putting them on the committee designates them so their peers and constituents have them identified as somebody who can be a voice.
Well, that may be true too. So that being said, if we're going to do these two particular ones, I'm probably going to suggest that we put our OIT director on, the public defender on. I mean, so I have to, at some point, we only have placed 2 of our judges on there. Others wanted to be on there. I said, well, we've got 2, you can come, and they're coming.
Right.
But we've got 2. We got a general session judge and a circuit court judge. So we think that's representation, but the others come and they do participate. Our clerk and master comes and participates, and he's not on the committee. So I guess at some point we just sort of have to decide what's the right balance. It doesn't really matter. Everybody needs a fair shot at their input.
Would you like to make a motion to
I'd
add Mr.
like to just
Robertson?
include, we may think of some others later,
Yeah.
the OIT director and our public defender.
I think that's a wise choice.
That's the reason I brought it up. You know, a project magnitude this size, you know, we want every professional input that we possibly can get. So I don't think anybody would be mad or whatever, turn their head if we put these people on this committee. I think it's an excellent idea myself.
We currently don't have a district attorney.
No.
No.
Okay. And records is an addition.
Okay, any more discussion? So,
So can we make a motion to amend my motion?
add those two.
Or just start over.
Just start over and then add those two.
Okay, yes,
So
please.
it's total of 4.
I'll continue to second the motion.
Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, it's done. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Any other business to come before this committee?
What was the gentleman's name on records?
John Lodell.
LODL.
If not, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Meeting is adjourned.